Hi, this is Alexcursus, a show where I take a look at some gunpla and see how authentic they are. This time, we are looking at the EG-12144 RX-78F00E Gundam. The RX-78F00E Gundam would probably be better known as the Expo 2025 Gundam. Now, this EG kit doesn't actually have all the parts necessary to recreate the one-to-one Gundam statue being shown in the 2025 World Expo, but it is the core base body of that Gundam with some standard equipment. I'll be rating this kit based on saga, style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style, the RX-78F00E is pretty much RX-78F00, the one-to-one Gundam animatronic, a 80 meters tall one at that, in EG form. Now, while for the World Expo version, they have the glass unit armor add-on in this EG kit, for the Gundam itself, it doesn't come with any of those. It is practically the Yokohama Gundam in EG form, and it has all those scopes of the Yokohama Gundam on it, all the segment panels and places left for signal lights, because it is a 80 meters tall thing on the side of the harbor. It does need some signal lights. Kind of a revival version 2 of the EG-RX-78-2. The head, for example, is the same construction, with the transceiver also function as the top camera's color separation. And I don't know if you can see it, that top camera have even more scopes on it. The rest of the helmet is the one piece as you see on EG, and yeah, the antenna and the transceiver in the middle have even more scopes. Same goes for the chest, all the extra scopes that you will see on the Yokohama Gundam. Even more so on the arms. We will look at the arms now. They even have the parts and color separation for the that animatronic doesn't have a film motor. Like, we don't have film motor for the animatronic, but yeah, that is kind of the IRL film motor equivalent. Well, this is more of a decorative cap, but that's the idea. Similar scope on the elbow. There's a bit of a gap near the end of the forearm, but with everything that's going on that's so busy, it kind of blends in. Same goes for the skirts. Way more scope line than your typical RX-78. Interesting how they left a extra large gap for the 5 segments, for the the two half of the clamshell. For the Yokohama animatronics, it is actually the 2 segments sliding around each other because of just easier, pretty much. Less force torque required if they do it like this. It is very much not 1 year war Gundam. but I will save that for another video. Either way, another fuel motor cap, and yeah, we get the whole Niyama plus Shin front for the lower legs on the F00E. I think they can include this here because the sprue is not organized into different segments. For the original EG RX-78-2, they tried to make all the parts in a separate area of the sprue so it is easier to find, but that also led to less space efficiency. Like they have a knee pad on the front, but they don't have the shin included with the knee pads or as a separate part. And I think it's definitely a better call to, not follow that plan and instead have a better part separation. The feet are small because the one-to-one Gundam animatronic is not actually standing on those 2 feet. So there's no reason to make them as large as RX-78 usually depicted to be. It is just that way for the animatronic, but they are nicely sculpted. Bottom of the feet is also nicely sculpted. You can see the thrusters have a lot more just things on it, on the scope. Still having a bit of hollow in the front. That's not the case for the animatronic, but for the model's case, it looks nice. I, won't hold that against them. Back of the leg, they got even more details, and I'm kind of lost at what I should be doing with them. So I just kind of let the panel liner run naturally and see what sticks. Again, very nice joints, more scopes. Let's take off the shield. More scopes for the skirts at the back. You can see a bit of the yellow block used for the EG process, like how you get these 2 yellow blocks here. That's not how the statue look. They don't have these yellow blocks here, but as a Gundam is somewhat believable that they would have yellowish semi-interior machining. But yeah, even more scoped on the back. Backpack as well, just a single piece backpack, but a lot more of a crisp sculpt. There isn't a lot of blurring or simple shapes to pretty much lower the cost of the mold itself. It's really precise. It's nothing like regular EG. Back of the head, a lot of scopes as well, but we do not have a sticker for the rear camera. But you don't really see it, so. And yeah, the proportion is pretty much how it is, as it was built as a one-to-one animatronics. Funny enough, the arms and legs are not as skinny or pronounced compared to other 3D models that people or Bandai have conjured up for a realistic Gundam over the years. And like I've mentioned, the feet are relatively small because the animatronic is pretty much suspended. The feet is not bearing any weight, so it is smaller for less weight. Yes, I am not a big fan of all these extra sculpt on a 1-to-144 model to be called as details, as a lot of, say, the signal lights are just sculpt. but you have to color it yourself. And a lot of the segments just look too busy, especially on the arms and the shoulder pads. Kind of problematic on the chest as well, as this is supposed to be like a tank's front plate for Gundam. It is really weird for it to be so segmented like this. It is very iconic when you look at it close up. Like, it is very futuristic, I would say. Definitely feels futuristic. But yeah, still, despite not the biggest fan of this style, yeah, they faithfully recreated that Gundam. Like, I can't pick it apart. This is an EG. They don't blur the mold, like I said. They don't have just a fat slab in the middle of nowhere because there's less detail there. They don't do that. It is all very, like, the mold for this thing, I cannot fathom how much of the 3D molding technology they use on this thing. It must, like, the mold itself must be like a transformer by itself. So yeah, I like, and the color separation, aside from the tiny signal lights, aside from a few interior here and there, this is just great. The color separation, I can't fault it at all. Again, this is EG. This is super easy to build. I have to give it as for style. Next is action. Action isn't just the number of articulations, but also how useful they are. For the RX-78F00E, the neck is practically the forever double ball joint on HG, although the chest side is more restricted than your typical HG, but the top side is more wide-reaching, so pretty much the same. I do think it looks up a bit further than the HG Revival, but again, that thing is 10 years old. The torso, we do have ab crunch, not super wide, but pretty wide for a single stage, and then swivel as a ball joint. So yeah, if we work it, you get quite a bit. And yeah, they do have interior, even with all this extra wide range of movement. Like, you can't tell me the style isn't excellent here. Skirts, front skirts, the same double ball that you can easily cut and get independent movement. Side skirts is on a ball joint. The back skirt is static, blocks it a bit, but you can play around and get some angles. Thigh on a ball joint, pretty much the same as the regular EG Gundam. 45-degree, more than enough for some of the more dramatic poses. And then thigh rotation. And for the knee, we got double knee. Not quite 180, just about 150, but that's plenty enough for Gundam RX-78 types. Ankle is a hinge, swivel, C-clip. Somebody would not be happy, but that's EG. You got lots of C-clips. And at the feet is a single ball joint going into the toes. That's combined with the ankle swivel, you get quite a bit of movement. Now, the segments do block the feet a bit here and there, but you know, not a big problem for F00E to move his feet around. Backpack completely static, nothing new here. Shoulders, same butterfly joint like the regular Gundam. I don't think Bandai need to fix what isn't broken. And then bicep swivel. Note that this part of the elbow can't swivel, you just got the top swivel. But then let's use the left arm. You got a bit more than 90 of elbow. Again, this is supposed to be RX-78. It's not supposed to have super wide range of elbow movement, so that's more than enough. And then the hand is on a ball joint. So let's try Kung Fu fighting. The small feet will be a nope. Super easy, barely an inconvenient. Despite the small feet, the RX-78F00E is just great. I think you would actually have a harder time standing on two legs, based on my personal experience. No, that's fine. Okay. So yeah, action-wise, pretty standard for EG. Slightly worse than the best HGs, but better than a lot of the old or less well thought out HGs. I think I will give it an A because, like I said, still got outclassed by some HG by a little, like by a slim margin, due to how authentic this kit is. Next is Gimmick. Gimmick are the onboard weapons, optional weapons, and other functionality of the mobile suit. In case of the RX-78F00E, presumably it have the core fighter system, but because the Yokohama animatronic and the World Expo statue doesn't have or doesn't show their mechanics, so not having it represented anywhere is fine for this kit. Otherwise, very well sculpted Falcon guns. And then the beam sabers are also very well sculpted. It even have a different backside, so presumably Gundam can put its thumb on this side. So in practice, this beam saber should be more like this, so that the thumb are at the right place for Gundam to hold them. But of course, for display, they should face the front. Then we come to the beam rifle, pretty much standard Gundam beam rifle. Interestingly enough, this thing is not part of the Yokohama animatronic, nor was it shown with the World Expo statue. It is pretty much a standard Gundam beam rifle with extra scopes. The block on the side does stop you from holding it all the way, but you know, I think the trigger guard design is just for more generic mobile suit to hold it. And even though the optic does not have a separate color like the Revival, it is still well sculpted. And the back, what I really like about this kit, like these struts at the back of the optic, they don't look like they are plastic molding struts. Well, they do, but in the context of how everything is going on, it looks like it is just part of the optic support. The front grip looks like it's movable, but it is not. The optic, however, is. pretty easy for F00E to aim. As for the shield that we took off earlier, it is pretty much Gundam shield with a lot of sculpt on it. Again, I don't like all the extra segments on a big armor plate. I can live with a few segments. I do think a giant shield like this should have a bit more modularity so that you can replace a segment of it without harming the overall integrity. But in this case, it's definitely just segmentation for segmentation's sake. I would like to see this with less lines, pretty much. The back is okay though. I can believe all these extra cross struts to provide extra strength for a shield while saving weight. Attachment point for the shield still have sculpt on it. It is great. We also got a spray out right hand and a fist left hand for the pose of the World Expo statue. Again, very well sculpted. Another crazy thing, we got sticker decals for this kit. A rarity for EG, although I suspect Bandai will start throwing in stickers on EG now, because to be honest, it's just convenient for everyone. SSEF is too small here, but I don't trust the zoom of the camera. But it is Star Jabro Space Environmental Research. It is the fictional orbital stations where the World Expo Gundam show took place. It is organized by GOIC, a fictional company that uses Gundam or Mobile Suit in general for peaceful purposes, pretty much. And then we got EX-001 for the feather unit included here, because they do expect you to buy the feather unit company optional set, which we will look at separately, because I do want to have option packs be judged as a option pack instead of part of a full kit. For the EG RX-78F00E, the gimmicks are, well, the style itself is the gimmick. Like, having all these extra sculpt all around a EG is definitely a gimmick in on itself. But that is not to say the shield and the gun and the beam sabers aren't very well sculpted and designed. They are great. I do have problem again with the over, like, just too many lines in general, but that's not the problem for the beam rifle. I think the beam rifle got it right mostly, because it is a freaking beam rifle. That's what a regular gun looks like these days. But yeah, definitely too much lines for the armor for my taste anyway. But that is not a point deduction, because it is faithfully recreating what it is trying to be. What kept this kit away from getting S for gimmick is the lack of beam saber blades, which is standard for most EG kits, but I don't think it is a healthy standard. I do think they should at least try to include one solid color, pink, green, or a plain clear beam saber blade for people to paint up. Like, sure, for people who have been collecting, they can easily just take more beam saber blades, but until Bandai release a multi-color beam saber blade set with all different types of beam saber blade shape on a standard pick, I am not giving it the points. Oh yeah, this beam saber can take the standard beam saber blade. Everything for the base form RX-78F00E is here. Is just not quite complete, but I am not exactly complaining either. So A for Gimmick. Last and probably most prominent is absence. Like I have said, this isn't exactly RX-78F00E. It is lacking in the glass armor, GLSS armor, and it is not having the beam saber blades, and compared to other RX-78s, it is definitely lacking in a hyper bazooka. Having said that, the Yokohama RX-78F00 doesn't have a beam rifle nor a shield to begin with. They are only included in the kits, as you should. Not a biggie. And then, like we have mentioned, no sticker for the signal light, despite having stickers for GeoIC and Star Jabber, etc., etc. There are few things missing as the complete RX-78F00E, as you would compare to, say, if you get a Robot Hamashi, but it is not so much so that you feel this Gundam kit is incomplete. So again, I will give it an A. So the verdict for the EG-12144 RX-78F00E is S for style, A for action, A for gimmick, and A for absence. Overall, definitely another flex of how much further ahead Bandai is in the plastic mecha robot build kits game. Definitely a way to promote World Expo 2025, as it is a very much Japanese event. I cannot think of a future where Bandai wouldn't capitalize on this thing even more. I don't think it will replace the original EG RX-78-2 anytime soon, but I do think this thing will be a staple of Gundam base in the future. Now, of course, the box, the manual, and everything is plastered with the World Expo 2025 logo. They would have to rework this if they want to keep this as a next Gundam base mainstay, which is just more Gunpla kits to us. So yeah, if you see a chance to snag this in reason. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. All of these extra sculpture come with a price. This kit, this EG kit, despite being in the same box size as you do in the EG Gundam, it costs just as much as the EG Gundam plus full weapons. So with the Hyper Bazooka, Beam Javelins, and Hyper Hammer, you are paying for the extra scopes. Or conversely, you can get a La Gundam for this. But those are definitely money well spent. For me, personally, I would definitely tell you to get the full weapon set and La Gundam before you get this. But in a perfect world, and these guys are relatively cheap, it is a no-brainer to get 3 different types of RX-78. The EG Gundam full weapon, the La Gundam, and this guy. Best combo you can do with Gundam and EG, or 1 to 144 in general, actually. It is very hard to think of what you can do for the same money and just get the same value. And yeah, just value in general, just the same action, gimmicks, and everything. Thanks for watching. See you next time.